Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another figure unboxing video, and ladies and gents, oh boy am I excited for today's video. After 3,000 years, a comparable Kefla figure is finally at our doorstep. Yes, that is right, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be taking a look at the premium Bandai exclusive Super Saiyan Kefla SH Figuarts figure. Let's go ahead and crack her out of the little brown box as I give you a little bit of an explanation as to what I mean by a competent Kefla figure. You see, Kefla debuted quite a long time ago at this point. I don't know if I could find the exact air date. If I can, I'll put it on the screen for you. But it has definitely been a long time since Kefla aired, obviously airing in the episode where she fought Goku, right? And needless to say, Kefla has not had a single large-scale figure to date. The only figures that she's had so far have all been minifigures. They've been high-grade figures, they've been Funko Pops, they've been WCF figures, all that type of stuff. For some reason, Bandai just refuses to give our girl a prize figure or an Ichiban Kuji figure or something like that. But thank Kami himself that today we have the SH Figuarts Kefla. That's right. Finally, a Kefla figure that I can confidently say is bigger than the size of my thumb. So we're going to be taking a look at her today. I will say I am already kind of worried about the look of that neck. Why does her neck look like she's a giraffe? We'll see how that looks actually after it's out of the box, but obviously taking a look at the packaging here, this is pretty cool. Obviously we have the Tamashii Nations logo, Bandai Funimation sticker. I believe that's... I've seen this logo before, not positive what it means though. Obviously we have the Toei Animation sticker, Dragon Ball Super sticker, Kefla, and all of her different effects and stuff like that. We have a little mini Kefla at the top as well, which is also pretty cool. Obviously we have the Keflas on the side of the box as well, which also look very, very nice. The bottom of the box also sporting Kefla too, with the funny candy cane beams. And on the back, we have our information about said Kefla figure, obviously telling us about the different poses and the different face sculpts and the different accessories and stuff like that that come with the figure. So let's go ahead and get her out of the box. Now, keep in mind, unfortunately, this is not going to be one of those times where I can be like, hey, go in the description to cop this figure, because this was a premium Bandai release. That's right. That basically means that you had to cop this figure from premium Bandai, or you are not getting it unless you're willing to pay upcharged prices on eBay. Because premium Bandai figures are not like the normal, over-the-counter releases of SH Figuarts figures. Like a good example of that was Super Saiyan 4 Goku, right? He's just a figure that you can find on any site. But unfortunately, our girl Kefla is only a premium Bandai exclusive. So let's go ahead and see what we have here, which is just the little instruction manual for Kefla. Oh, she does have a crossed arm piece. I actually did not remember that from when I ordered it, but that's pretty cool. Obviously, this is talking about how you assemble the faceplates for the figure, that kind of stuff. Just your little basic pamphlet. Oh, also, that's good to know. Apparently, the ball effect also has a peg, and her arm just attaches to her hand. Okay, we'll have to see how that works, but let's just go ahead and chuck the instructions to the side for now. I'm sure we'll probably need them eventually, but this is very interesting how this is. So this is just like a back piece here. Oh, they're like connected. I did not expect to just see Kefla's hands connected to these. We'll get to these accessories in a minute, but I will say this is Bandai a much better way of doing accessories by literally just having them being able to slide into the box and not needing to make a different size than having a bigger box or some weird taped stuff like that. This is much better. Definitely good on Bandai for doing a good job with the packaging on this one. Very, very good stuff. All right, so let's remove the clamshell and let's go ahead and pull her out. We'll pull her out by the little bit of the plastic. I don't want to tip this because obviously I don't want literally everything inside to come crumbling down. Okay, so obviously since this is a official SH Figuarts release, of course, it always has the little bit of plastic in the middle. That little bit of plastic there is how you know that you are getting an authentic figure, especially when the plastic is of this specific material. That's how you know that the figure is real. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get that out there. It is a little bit weird because like the top half of her body, this is such a small figure. I don't think I've ever messed with like a figure with this small of a waist before, because obviously most of the Dragon Ball cast is pretty bulky, but of course Kefla is very slim. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the figure outside of the box, just right out, right? We have Kefla herself. Overall, in terms of the look, before we get into the articulation, I will say we will have to see how it looks with the other faceplates, but I think that they did a okay job on the face. I kind of feel like her face is a little bit too flat, but I think they nailed it on the hair. I think that the hair is definitely... Oh! They actually got that detail? Sorry, that caught me off my tracks. I didn't expect that to be there. That is a small detail about Kefla that not a lot of people notice, is actually like the hair tie, right, that is back there to tie her little ponytail, which it doesn't really matter because her hair is literally exploding at the seams anyway, but they actually bothered to include the hair tie. That's so cool. Well, that's a very nice attention to detail on Bandai's part. But yes, I do think they did a very, very good job with the hair sculpt on Kefla for sure. I think they nailed the crazy green hair look, if I do say so myself. But there is definitely something about her expression that leaves a little bit to be desired. I don't know. Something about it, apparently the camera agrees with me here. Apparently something about the face is just not agreeing with my brain. So, I don't know. You can let me know in the comments what you think. Again, we'll take a look at her with the other faces on her body as well. But besides that, I think that the figure looks fine in terms of the actual, like, you know, size and body shape of Kefla. I definitely think that she looks pretty much like herself. I don't really think that there's anything off the top of my head that seems to really be missing about her. It definitely just, you know, the figure itself definitely looks like Kefla. Her hair does look a little bit lopsided from this angle. I will say it is definitely going to be hard to stand her up because she's so top heavy with all that hair on her head that obviously getting her, you know, to stand up perfectly is going to be a little bit difficult like this. But there we go. Let's go ahead and take a look at the articulation for this figure here. So, obviously, for the head, we have the the full 360. That is so cursed doing that every time I do that with a figure. We have the regular arm motion for a SH Figuarts figure here, right? You have your... Oh, wow, that just comes out easy. Though, to be fair, that is intentional because obviously then you can put the crossed arms on her. Well, that actually goes back on pretty easily. Okay, well... I hope you just saw that. I hope the camera caught that. That was actually really easy for that to come on. Though, to be fair, that is a little bit easy for that to come off. Sorry about that. My camera just cut out there. As I was saying, it is nice that the arm does come out so easily so you can attach the accessory, but at the same time, for using the actual arm, it's not that great that it comes out that easy because obviously you don't want to be trying to pose the figure and then your arm comes off and you have to redo the entire pose. But either way, we have her arm movement here. We obviously have the full 360 at the shoulder. We have a little bit of an elbow movement here. Obviously, the very small elbow joint. Definitely be careful with that. Be careful when using this figure in general too, because this is a very tiny figure. We obviously have the wrist articulation here as well. And one really cool thing about the shoulder, excuse me, Kefla, is that they actually did a really good job with giving her a lot of shoulder articulation. There is a ton of range. If we take a look at the shoulder blade from the back, there is a ton of range on that shoulder that you can really get. Be careful, again, with your arm here. That is definitely very delicate. And that peg, also, I definitely don't trust that. So just be careful when you're playing with this figure. But yeah, a lot of great arm articulation for sure. They definitely did a good job getting some very good arm movement for you there. I'll have to mess with the other arm as well. Make sure when you get these SH Figuarts figures, by the way, I don't usually say this, but play with your figure a little bit because you obviously want it to be nice and loose. Also, this does seem to be an issue with mine where this arm definitely seems to be a little bit looser than this arm for sure. Like I have to yank this one a lot more than I do the other arm to sort of like get it off when I'm trying to articulate the arm. So definitely be a little bit careful with that for sure. In terms of the waist, let's take a look at the waist here. That is also painted on, by the way. Ooh, did I just break that? Hold on. No, it's just a very tight joint. Oh my gosh, that arm joint is super tight. Yeah, definitely be careful when you are posing this figure for sure. That joint is super tight. I would be afraid that that would break. Anyway, we have the waist here, which is very interesting because this bottom piece here is just like a diaper almost, where it's like, you know, it's not actually attached to the figure. It's very like hard plastic, which obviously allows for a lot more articulation like this, where you can really stress it and then you can kind of see, you know, like the gapping there. So definitely be careful with that. Obviously, if you want like a competent pose, you're going to have to mess with that a little bit. But she does have some very nice posability for sure in the mid-range section. Definitely a very, very good. You can definitely get some pretty good poses out of that, I think. And we have the legs, which actually look really good. I was kind of wondering how they were going to do her like leggings sort of look. And I think that they actually did it pretty good. To be fair, when it is open like this, it does look a little bit odd, but it's definitely not too bad. She can not really do the splits. Obviously, if you flip it backwards, then she can kind of do the splits, but it doesn't really work still. But yeah, some leg movement there with the arm, obviously some up and down there, a lot of 360. The ankles do not pivot. That is a little bit unfortunate. They do spin the full 360, but I think that that's mainly because... Oh, no, wait a minute. Holy cow. No. I don't know what joint I just moved, but look at that ankle pivot. Wow. Okay, that's great. Never mind. I take back my criticism. That's good. We obviously have the toe articulation as well, which is literally just her boot there that you can move up like that. I usually never really use the toe articulation. I don't know if I've ever found a purpose for it personally, excuse me, but it is there if you need it. Definitely be careful as well. I think this is just the ball joint that I was able to sort of maneuver to be able to get her to have the proper articulation here. All right, so let's go ahead and just take off her face. So then we can see how that works. So we'll take a look at her faces really quick. I think that it... Yeah, oh my. That is a very terrifying look. This is very rubbery as well, which is interesting. This is a lot softer of a plastic than I expected it to be. It's definitely a little bit softer than the hair. Alright, so sorry, Kefla. Ooh, I do not like that joint. That joint is not going to be not very happy with me. Let's go ahead and rip her face off here. Sorry, Kefla. No hard feelings. They definitely did a good job on the Patara as well, I will say. I think that that's definitely something that they nailed the look of pretty well. I don't want to break the pegs. There we go. Okay. Ah. Horrifying. Also, crazy that that is literally held on by that one small peg right there, her entire hair. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at her faces. I know this was something that a couple of people definitely complained about in terms of the accessories for her. We have the screaming head here, which we'll go ahead and chuck that one on. I know that a lot of people looked at some of these faces. Also, this is a very deep like gap for the face to go in. Interesting. I know a lot of people were like saying that they kind of didn't like the faces, and I almost have to agree. The faces aren't too great, unfortunately. I think that they definitely could have done a little bit of a better job with the faces. Like, this looks like Kefla, especially from this angle. It looks very weird. Definitely very much flat. But like, this doesn't look as bad, right? But there's still definitely something off about it for sure. It definitely isn't perfect, right? Like, I've seen some SH Figuarts figures, like even Super Saiyan 4 Goku that we took a look at in the last video I did on this channel about SH Figuarts, right? His face was like, oh, peak, right? Like, that was literally just Super Saiyan 4 Goku. But Kefla definitely has a little bit of that figure face going on. Let's go ahead and grab her last facial expression here, and then we will take a look at the other accessories that she comes with. We have the gritting teeth face. I was trying to decide what to call this face in my head. I don't know if I like this one either. The teeth look really cheap. I don't even know if I like this one like when her face is down. Yeah, definitely not the best face. I'm going to be honest. Not great. I think that the default one is probably the one that I'm going to stick with if I'm being honest. Like, maybe straight on like that, it looks okay. But other than that, I think that the other faces, at least for me personally, are a no-go. They're pretty close, but there's just something, like, about them that just makes me look at them and go, yeah, that's not Kefla. That is a imposter Kefla. All right. So, besides that, then, her face does have a little bit of a tendency to kind of, like, do this sort of thing where she has this sort of, like, neck syndrome where she's given that little bit of a long neck look. I don't know. That is something very interesting about this figure. Definitely be careful with that arm, by the way, because obviously mine is coming off really easily. I would hate for yours if you are able to get this figure to not cooperate with you. All right. So let's go ahead and just stand her up in the background, and then we will take a look at her hands here. Yeah, definitely a very hard figure to pose, especially considering how small she is and how big her cranium is. It's definitely going to be a little bit difficult. Alright, so taking a look at our hands, to start off, we have a little bit of a cupping hand. Be careful with these, by the way, because these hands are super tiny, especially compared to your normal SH Figuarts hands. With this hand, we also have the pointing finger, which is actually a pretty good figure to include, or pretty good finger, rather, instead of figure, to include with Kefla, because obviously she does a lot of pointing in the Tournament of Power. She's like, hey, Goku, I'm gonna beat you, you know, or whatever. So that's a pretty cool hand to include. Definitely a Kefla accessory that I would have wanted. And then we have our sort of standard Dragon Ball open palm hands, right, for Ki Blast firing and stuff like that, right? We have our sort of grippy hands, sort of like battle stance hands, basically just like not as open palm as the open palm hands there. And we have the very cool hand, which is the one with the peg in it, which if you are curious what this is for, this is not for the big candy cane rings. However, we do get this little marble that literally looks like a piece of candy. Definitely don't have this figure around children because they will eat this. If I was a kid and I saw this, I would eat this up immediately. Definitely looks like a piece of candy. But this little ball slides right onto the hand, and then obviously you can have her holding a Ki Blast, which is really cool. Obviously, there are a couple of iconic moments from the Tournament of Power where she does have a Ki Blast in her hand, so it is pretty cool that they decided to include this piece, so then obviously you could recreate that. Like when she's flying forward, right, with the ball in her hand. I know I saw some promotional art of that with her holding the ball in that same pose as she takes in the Tournament of Power. But there you go. Now she's got the little Ki Blast in her hand, which is pretty cool. Definitely a decent accessory to include. Obviously, when it comes to these premium Bandai exclusives, a lot of the time, what they really do to make the price feel worth it for you is put in a bunch of accessories, which is really cool, I will say. They always do a really good job with all the accessories, I think. So definitely a cool one to include. Obviously, even though it is just literally a ball, it is a pretty iconic Kefla accessory for that one scene from the anime. And of course, we do have one more hand accessory, and that of course is the cross arms, which might actually be my default pose for Kefla, because I think that that will look really good. So here's what we're going to do. Oh boy, we're going to rip the arms off. This one is so much harder to get off. You know what else is what I just noticed too? Hold on. I think I may have found the culprit here. For some reason, this looks so weird. For some reason, the peg on this side is a lot bigger than the peg on this side. I don't know, that might be just like a production error on my copy of the figure. That's got to be what it is, or maybe this is a more widespread issue. I'm not sure. I haven't really watched like any videos on Kefla. Usually when I go into a figure, it kind of depends. Most of the time I like to take it blind though. But for this, we are going to try and put this on. So we obviously want to be very careful when we pose this here to get her cross arms. I think let's grab the actual manual. Funny enough, the copyright details are on the inside of her arms, which is so weird. Alright, so yeah, it's nothing too crazy in terms of it just telling you how to do it. It's literally just take the arms off and then put that on. So let's go ahead and see if we can do this. I've never had a SH Figuarts figure where this is actually a feature, so I am quite excited. And this does actually go, this seems to fit pretty well right against her chest, which is cool. Like the inside of it is shaped to literally just fit right there, which is nice. Definitely good engineering on the figure's part. Alright, so let's see. We're going to try and get both of these a little bit more down. I think the technique is to try and get these like as close together and as close down as possible, like this. And then try and slide them on the arms, because obviously we don't want to break the peg in the process. And it is pretty difficult to shimmy this in here, because obviously you're trying to get that very small peg into that small hole that I showed you earlier. Thankfully they are kind of malleable. They are a little bit like soft, so you're not like just trying to jam this hard piece of plastic on there and then it doesn't have a little bit of wiggle room, right? At least you have a little bit of space to work with here. I am definitely going to have to get a little bit better at doing this, but I will say for first try, and you can kind of lift her arms up a little bit. It does look a little bit weird because obviously you can kind of tell that there's nothing under there, but for a first try, I would say, with her face like doing one of these, right, being so hunched over, it looks a little bit weird, but there we go. That's a pretty cool look, if I do say so myself. Again, I know it's not perfect, but obviously since I'm just, you know, trying to take a look at all the accessories, that looks pretty cool. That's definitely the look I'm going to keep, for sure. That is definitely the look that's going on the shelf, for sure. That's pretty sick. I'm not going to lie. I think that's cool. That's definitely my favorite accessory in here. Maybe my mind will change when we take a look at the candy cane beams literally right now, but that is a pretty cool accessory, if I do say so myself. Alright, so just like our instruction booklet says, I have put Kefla's arms back on, obviously, after having the uncross arms. And we have her hands removed, so then that way you can just stick the arms right on to the hands that are already attached to the candy cane beam. Again, I think this is a great way to do it, because obviously it makes it a lot more simple for the person who is going to do this, because then that way they don't have to try and do any shenanigans of trying to get some weird fittings to work with the hands sticking onto the candy canes when the hands are literally on the candy canes already. And even though it feels really weird, and trust me, this definitely feels really weird, just having severed hands attached to these, I think it is definitely, for the sake of like playability, it's a very good idea on the engineers at Bandai's part, for sure. Alright, so let's take a look at these bad boys close up. These do look very cool. They are pretty hard plastic. They are a little bit malleable. Like, you can kind of move them a little bit so they're not going to, like, shatter if you drop it on the ground. But they do look pretty sick, if you ask me. I think they did a pretty good job of getting the look down. It is weird because I will say, if we take a look at these hands, like, compared to the flat hands, right? They are, like, seemingly even more small. If that is correct to say, they feel even flatter and even smaller than just like the regular open palm hands, which is really weird. I'm kind of just surprised that they didn't just like use the regular mold of the open palm hands just to like, you know, literally just copy paste it on there. I'm using my own hands as reference, by the way, just to make sure that I don't mess this up. All right. So let's go ahead. We're going to be careful with this arm because obviously this is our arm that's been popping out the whole video. And we are going to put that right on there, and that should just peg... Oh, you know what I'll do? Since this arm is being kind of a stinky, we're just going to put this in here, and then we'll attach it. Okay, so there is no snap. It definitely just goes in there. That does look pretty good, I will say, and it does have a lot of articulation still. Like, unfortunately, her gauntlets, because she does have those, do kind of get in the way of articulation a little bit, but I suppose for the candy game, you're probably not going to be doing much more than, you know, what we already have there. Oh, this is going to be hard to attach the other one, though, I just realized. When this one's on here, oof. Also, the other thing I have a feeling is that you're not going to want to keep these on here for a crazy long time because, especially since the joints and pegs aren't that big, this is a lot of weight for this figure to be holding like this, right? Like you can see if I do this, it droops a lot. So this accessory is really cool, but I don't know if I'm going to be using it. Like I said, I kind of just like the cross arms anyway, so I'm probably just going to be using those. But for this figure, I'm really glad that they included the candy cane, because obviously that's like Kefla's most iconic moment in the series so far. But at the same time, it is definitely a little bit hard on the figure, which is kind of unfortunate. That is the only thing that sort of stinks about where we are with figures right now, which we've come a very long way in terms of like figure technology. But the fact that figures don't have strong enough joints to hold up some of these tougher accessories is a little bit of a unfortunate case here. But nonetheless, we now have the candy cane beams attached. They are a little bit hard to pose her with because obviously they are such like big and awkward accessories, right, to like use. They are also kind of hard to pose considering, you know, since her hands are so flat on the actual like candy cane thing, it's hard to get them flat unless you're sort of like moving her arm down like that, right? And then you can kind of get them a little bit flatter. But that is pretty cool, I will say. They definitely did a good job engineering these, I will say. I think that these look fantastic, right? They look exactly like how they should in the anime. I think the promotional picture, I'm not even going to try and get her to pose like this because I will try and fail to get it to look good like this. But after I give her a little spin here, I'll chuck the promotional poster for Kefla with this specifically her poster. I'll chuck the promotional art right here on the screen with her doing the candy cane beam, and I think it looks really, really good. Obviously, if you want to do the candy cane beam, what I would probably recommend would be getting a stand for Kefla herself to obviously have her in the air, and then also getting a stand for her arms, so then that way the arms aren't holding the full weight of these big discs, right? And then that way they're just resting on some stands so the figure isn't taking as much heat in terms of the joint department. One more thing about the candy cane beams before I let you go to the size comparison section is I will say, for one, be careful if your figure is like mine and you have a little bit of a loose arm, because I am noticing that this one is definitely drooping a lot more than this other one is. And as well, definitely be careful not to scratch the figure. I don't know if this paint is prone to scratching, but I have seen other SH Figuarts figures that I have scratch with different material against them. And if you're putting these sharp edges right against the legs of Kefla, definitely be careful that you don't end up scratching the figure. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get to our normal size comparisons here. Obviously, we are going to have to pull the camera out a little bit here, considering that we have our Gotenks and Goku on display here. But as you can see, here are our size comparisons for Kefla compared to Gotenks and compared to Goku. Obviously, Kefla is a rather small character, and of course, she is pretty small just as a figure. Obviously, she is a lot less bulkier than a lot of the Dragon Ball cast, so of course she's going to end up as a smaller figure, but I did not realize how small she would be compared to Goku. Wow! Goku is literally just a Kefla head smaller than her, which is kind of crazy when you look at it. This figure does stand at about, I would say that's almost a perfect 5 inches. I know the camera from the angle that I'm at isn't necessarily the best for that, but that is definitely around the 5-inch mark, I think. I would say maybe like 5 1/4 with her hair counted in there, but yeah, definitely around the 5-inch mark, which that definitely plays a little bit of a factor for me, and I'll tell you at the end when we're taking a stroll through the pictures of Kefla here, my overall thoughts on this figure. But we do have to bring out some boys for the size comparisons first, and since this is the only Kefla piece of merchandise that I own, besides now the SH Figuarts Kefla before me, of course, I had to bring it out just for a couple of quick picks. We have the Funko Pop Kefla. Yes, that's right. I told you this was one of the only things Kefla related that we actually have so far. And I have it because I was that desperate to get some piece of Kefla merch, because we haven't had one since she came out besides minifigures. So I'm not going to keep them on the stage for too long, but it is pretty cool to see these two next to each other. Definitely going to have to do some display with these two next to each other since we have our candy cane beam females on the screen. And obviously for our true size comparisons here, just had to bring out the Funko Pop for a little bit of a funny there. Sorry, I didn't mean to not get her center there. There we go. Right in front of Gogeta. We, of course, had to bring out a couple of extra figures. We have the regular Raised on Earth Goku. We have the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, obviously from the last review. And to give you a little bit of a size comparison, I decided whenever I do SH Figuarts figures going forward, I would like to bring out this man right here. Let me get him a little bit straighter standing for you. That would be the Funny Model Kit Figurize Standard. Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku. Now, besides this guy, the only other one I have is Jiren. Let me actually get him sort of in the roster here. But as you can see, obviously he is a lot taller than the SH Figuarts figures. And of course, the SH Figuarts figures are a lot smaller of a scale line. So it makes sense that he is a lot bigger. But unfortunately, this is the only other Tournament of Power like posable figure that I really have at the moment to match with Kefla. And it's not even the Omen one, but it will have to do for the time being. And the only one that I wanted to bring out, just because Kale is definitely somewhere in that fusion, I had to bring out the Dragon Ball Super Broly SH Figuarts figure Fury version. So these guys do all look pretty cool together. Obviously, there is definitely some fun shenanigans that you can do with poses and all these different figures. I am probably going to end up posing Kefla when I eventually crack open my Super Saiyan Blue Goku. I do have that figure in a box, and I'll probably do a video on that guy eventually. But I definitely will be displaying her next to the Funko Pop for the time being. But these are all pretty cool. It's always nice seeing these various different SH Figuarts figures in the same scale and being able to pose them however you want next to each other. It is always pretty cool. Now, overall thoughts on this figure, obviously this is a little bit of an interesting one. Not only is this figure pretty small, but as you can see, mine had a pretty big QC issue with the arm. The other thing that I noticed that unfortunately mine actually does have a small QC issue with the cross arm. It is very hard to see, but there is a little bit of gold paint. There you go. You can see it splattered there on her arm, which is really unfortunate since this is obviously the pose I'm going to be taking. To be fair, if she's just standing like this, you literally will not notice it. So it isn't too terrible of a big deal, but it is unfortunate that for a figure like this that is supposed to be premium Bandai, right? And the price definitely screams premium Bandai with how expensive this figure is. I would say that unless you are a really big fan of Kefla, or you are just a starving Dragon Ball figure collector like me, looking for any piece of Kefla figure shenanigans that you can get your hands on, I don't know if I would honestly recommend this figure just to the general public. Obviously, at this point, since you can't pre-order it anymore off of Premium Bandai, you're going to have to get a second hand, which means that it's already going to be even more expensive than what I paid for it. And not just that, I don't think that the figure's face is like good enough for my taste, to be fair. I am also a pretty big snob when it comes to those things. I like my figure faces to be as close to the anime material as they can be. And I definitely think that SH Figuarts has done a good job recently of really capturing that. But I just think Kefla misses the mark a little bit on that. And even though I understand that the price is a little bit more justified with all of the accessories that we get, I just think with the size of the figure and especially the QC issues that mine had, I don't think that it's worth the price, again, unless you are a Kefla super fan. But you can definitely let me know what you think in the comments section below. Of course, if you have this figure for yourself, let me know what you think of it. Or if you don't, definitely let me know what you think of it from watching this video. I definitely like doing these SH Figuarts videos, even though they're obviously a little bit longer and they are definitely a little bit harder to edit. I do still enjoy doing them. I like the SH Figuarts figures. It's nice to see that you guys have actually been enjoying these SH Figuarts videos. I know the Goku video did pretty well, so hoping you guys enjoy this one as well. But without further ado, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.